pretty much the best reading event of the year. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video I want to share my Nonfiction November TBR with you all. Nonfiction November is a reading initiative challenge event thing that a book olive has run. She created, I think, 8 or 9 years ago, she said in her video, and it's been running it every November since, and it's just one of my favorite times of the year for reading, as far as readathons and read event, anything like that kind of going on. I don't read 100% nonfiction. I do have a few guilty Warhammer fiction reads and stuff, but I'd say over 90% of my reading is definitely nonfiction. So any chance to put the spotlight on reading nonfiction or different subgenres of nonfiction is just something I really enjoy doing. I have lots of videos obviously on different recommendations and topics and stuff regarding nonfiction, so like I said, just absolutely love it. I'm gonna have a blast. I think a lot of others are too as well, and it's just great seeing everybody kind of getting hyped about it collectively, even if it's only one time a year. Like I said, just nonfiction, I love it. A lot of people don't, but there is nonfiction for everybody. You just probably haven't read the right. There's just so much. I will say, in school, nonfiction wasn't the best. I think that's partly where it gets a bad rep, but hopefully everyone can find either an author or a topic or something that they really enjoy reading about. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. This readathon goes throughout the entire month of November, and the only real requirement is to read nonfiction or more nonfiction than you normally read. So anything like that. Olive comes out with 4 different sort of vague, I guess, just prompts or challenges to kind of get you thinking on different topics that you can follow if you want to. I'm doing it just for kind of the challenge aspect of it, but you don't have to do that. The 4 this year were, if I remember off the top of my head, Record, Element, Secret, and Border. And I found one book kind of for each one. Some are a lot more obvious or obvious than others, and there's also one more nonfiction title that I was recommended to a couple of videos ago that I want to read as well. So let's just go ahead and get started. All right, first up, for the prompt of Record, I'm going with a book that I'm hoping to get for my birthday, which happens to also be in November. So if I don't get it, I'll probably just get it myself. It is The Rise and Reign of the Mammals by Steve Brusatte. The subtitle is A New History from the Shadow of Dinosaurs to Us. I read his Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of a Lost World I think the first year I did book 2, so that would have been 2018. I know, I feel like I'm getting old and stuff. Really loved it. This was definitely I think this was a top 3 book for my reading that year. So when he came out with this new one on the kind of the history of the mammal lineage, I was like, yeah, I definitely got to pick that one up as well. For the prompt challenge of Record, I'm going with fossil record, because the book is obviously going to have a lot of mammalian fossil records and different extinct species and stuff that have been uncovered and excavated and stuff like that. So that's fossil record is how I'm incorporating Record. But like I said, I love his writing style. I thought it came across really clean, really concise, but just really fun to actually read about. So it's going to be interesting to see if he is a dinosaur paleontologist by trade, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can carry on sort of that energy into kind of the mammalian evolutionary line and stuff. But I think it'll be really interesting, just because mammals have been around for a long time, but in the Mesozoic as well. But most mammals were like this, just little rodent thingies, just getting stepped on by the dinosaurs and whatnot, until the Chicxulub impact and all that. But yeah, so we got Rise and Reign of the Mammals for Record. Next up, we have Element. And I have Mother Nature is Not Trying to Kill You. And a bunch of these books are going to be books also that I need to do individual book reviews for, because publishers are waiting, and I'm just a terrible person. So we got Mother Nature is Not Trying to Kill You, a wildlife and bushcraft survival guide by Rob Nelson and Haley Nelson. And this is a husband and wife team that have put together a book on a bunch of different, somewhat serious, somewhat kind of comical, different the survival scenarios and stuff. If you're getting attacked by, killer hornets or whatever, things like that, it's probably not going to be happening. But if you are attacked by a shark, like I said, you got more of a chance to be like killed by getting like stepped on by an elephant than a shark attack. But if you are, this will have like kind of vaguely what you're supposed to be doing in that situation. So I'm gonna go with element here. I know this one's much more of a stretch, and it's for like being like out in the elements, I guess. I'm sure there's a bunch of different things on like not just like getting attacked by animals and stuff. So I'm gonna be like, that's how I'm going to incorporate elements there. Being out in the elements, learning how to survive. The elements, I read the first couple like little scenarios as well, and I've enjoyed it so far. Like I said, piranhas was like one of the ones I read about. Like I said, it's not really something you really have to be worried about, but it's actually kind of fun learning about, theoretically, if it all comes down to it, this is really the best way to like kind of handle the situation and whatnot. So looks kind of like a fun, interesting kind of naturey survival. I used to have like a kind of bushcraft stuff when I had like a phase for a couple of months where I was like, I'm gonna get like really into this, and then it kind of faded out. So hopefully maybe I might renew that like interest, just because like I said, you probably know if you've watched any of my videos before, I live out in the middle of the sticks. But anyways, if you made it this far into the video, leave a comment down below if you're joining in Nonfiction November or not, or if you'd like to see me do some like recommendations on different I guess nonfiction topics that I read, mostly all kinds of histories and all kinds of sort of nature and environmental works. I'd be glad to I think I've done videos where people have asked for like specific recommendations on topics or eras or whatever, and I see if I can slap something together. All right, next up we have Secret as the challenge prompt, and I have The Secret History of Food, Strange but True Stories About the Origins of Everything We Eat by Matt Siegel. And obviously secret is right in the title, so it's all going to be about kind of like, in the vein of other like secret histories. It's going to be like just like the in-depth quirky facts that I guess have been overlooked or just buried throughout history that just been forgotten or people don't realize anymore. I read the first chapter, and there's a lot of like, I gotta find out if Matt Siegel has written other works, because it's just super witty, super funny. I'm not 100% sure, like just like going through like the chapters and stuff. I think he seems to focus on just a few different topics like corn and like vanilla and stuff. So it's not going to be like kind of a broad overview of a bunch of different secret histories of like lots of things, but kind of just like an in-depth deep dive into just some of the really wacky weird stuff of a few different specific foods. So I think in some ways that'll be good. Hopefully it still kind of seems like a cohesive whole, but we will find out hopefully in November when I actually get around to reading it. All right, and for the last prompt, which is border, I have a book here that I got a couple months ago, and it's Birding Without Borders. Easy incorporation there. An obsession, a quest, and the biggest year in the world by Noah Stricker. And just look at that cover. I just love the watercolors there. Super, super fantastic. I read one of his other works before, and it's The Thing with Feathers, The Surprising Lives of Birds and What They Reveal About Being Human. Thought this was a fantastic, just fun read where I think he profiled 8 or 10 or a dozen birds or so. Just learned tons about them, all the kind of ins and outs and like why they're cool and what we can like learn about them and whatnot. This book is kind of like a memoir biography of his big year. For those who aren't into like birding or bird watching, a big year is like when you kind of go out and have a specific kind of birding goal in mind, usually to find as many different bird species in a certain area, whether that's like, for example, your country or maybe your state. He goes for the whole world. And I remember, I think when I was learning about this book a couple months ago, I can't remember, I think he was in like the 5,000s or 6,000. I think it was just over half of all the world's bird species like throughout his travels in 1 year. And he actually held the record for a couple years of seeing the most individual bird species by a single person in one calendar year. I think he's been surpassed since then. But it just sounds like it's going to be a really fun, read. An ornithologist, basically living out his, I assume would be like, one of his dreams, just to go out and find as many birds as possible over the course of a year. I'm sure there's a lot of, in regards to like travel and logistics and stuff, I bet you a lot of things didn't pan out probably the way they were supposed to go, especially in like really kind of undeveloped areas, things like that. But there's going to be a lot of really fun adventures and probably lots of cool like bird facts, and just, he's just really not, excuse me, he's really knowledgeable about birds, obviously being an ornithologist and whatnot. So yeah, just I hope it's going to be a really good blend of sort of memoir and science. I think that's usually a really good combination to have. All right, before I get on to the last one, which doesn't actually fit a prompt, if you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. But if you really want to support the channel, definitely check out my Etsy shop, where I, sell like nature signs and philosophy stuff and history stuff, things like that. Even just like liking the items, your favorite quotes, whatever, favoriting the shop, things like that really help me out in the Etsy algorithm. And on to the last book, and it is Matilda, Empress, Warrior, Queen, and it is by Catherine Hanley. And this was a book that several different viewers recommended to me in the comments on, I think, one of my recent medieval history topic videos, where I was asking for different... I think I brought up briefly reading about Empress Matilda, who was Empress of the Holy Roman Empire in, I think, at the 12 or 1300s, if I remember correctly. I could be totally... could be totally messing that one up, but she was only briefly, like, just as part of like a chapter on medieval history, and I wanted, just from that little tidbit, I wanted to like read a lot more about her. And several others of you guys had read it and recommended this book in particular, so that's what we're going with as sort of like kind of my bonus fan read, I guess. I've generally speaking, like, the ones you guys recommend to me pan out to be, really good. So you guys are a great resource. Hopefully I learned tons about Empress Matilda. Like, should have been Queen of England, but that just like didn't turn out to be. So hopefully I learned all about her. And yeah, those are the 5 books that I want to read in Nonfiction November. Like I said, don't forget to let me know if you've posted any videos about like your TBR for Nonfiction November, or whether you're joining in or not. Glad to just gonna immerse myself in Nonfiction November during the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much for watching. Whether you're participating or not, always remember, read victoriously.